You're listening to the Surrendered Podcast, where we discuss marriage and parenting for women seeking to honor God through our daily lives. Welcome to the Surrendered Life Podcast. My name is Rachel Inman, and if you've been with us before, I've done several episodes, and we actually just are getting back from taking a season off of doing the podcast just because of a new job I had and just life in ministry, little kids. Life can get really busy, and I just don't want to do anything if I can't do it well, and I don't have the time for it. And so I'm in a season right now where I felt like it was time. The Lord was putting it back on my heart to pick back up the podcast. And so I'm really excited to be with you guys again and got lots of great topics we're going to be talking about. But today, we are going to interview, and I've told you guys before I was going to have him on here, but my husband is with us today. And so, Alex, will you just kind of like share a little bit about the season we're in and where we're at right now in life?
Am I your first guest?
I think you might be.
That's pretty special. I feel special. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
You're welcome.
I'm a big fan.
Oh, I hope so. That would be awkward if you weren't.
Yeah, so we were in a pretty fast-paced season of life as far as ministry goes, and even just life in general. The church we were serving, we loved that church, but it was just a lot. It was 5 services a weekend, and there was a point where I felt like the church stopped getting the best version of me, and my family, you guys, also stopped getting the best version of me.
Yeah.
And so we really felt the need to make a change and just slow down a little bit and find a healthier ministry context. As far as our time goes.
Yeah, and I think I've told y'all before that I used to also work at the church that he was the worship pastor at, and us both being on staff was just really time consuming, even though we both enjoyed it. And so this is kind of a new season for us. We just moved back to Memphis, Tennessee, where our family is. And actually just had our first Sunday at our new church where
Yes.
Alex is the worship pastor. And I'm actually going to be staying at home for this first part of this season and just homeschooling the kids. And I'm so excited to be with them. But I kind of wanted today, I've told you guys before, like we talk a lot about marriage and parenting on this podcast. And I just think it would be really helpful for women to hear like a male perspective because I mean, we've talked about this a lot. Like, I see a situation and you see it totally different, right? Like, not even a little bit the same. Even though we've been married.
Not even a few things, it's many things.
Yes, like most things.
Yeah.
And we've been married almost 12 years. So you would think at some point, but no, we still see the world very, very differently. And so I think it would be like encouraging wives for us to just kind of sit down and talk to Alex. And I'm just going to kind of have him share some different things about our marriage and hope that it can be an encouragement to you as you navigate parenting and your relationship with your husband as well. So first of all, I'll start off with something funny. So what would you say is like something funny about our marriage, or like, do you have like a funny memory, or what would you say like is kind of silly?
Kind of silly. We laugh together a lot. I feel like a lot of couples just, they skip that part or they stop doing that part. And we have a lot of just funny moments. And it's hard to pick one, but it's mostly about around things that our kids say that we both find cute. Or it's a funny memory. Even this morning, I popped a string on stage. And the look that you gave me was like, okay, we're going to remember this for a very long time. I haven't popped a string in 5 years. And so, but yeah, we have a lot of fun. And I'm thankful for our relationship and our marriage that we get to say we have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I do think that is important. Like, I think once you have a lot of kids, sometimes it can be hard to remember, hey, that's still your best friend and you do need to do things together that aren't always like, it's very important to pray. It's very important to read your Bible. It's very important to like have hard conversations, but you also need to have fun.
Gotta have fun.
Yeah. You need to, if you haven't done that in a while, there's your reminder. Go do something fun this week.
That's right.
So we've been married about almost 12 years. So what would you say has changed over the course of our marriage in the last 12 years? Like, what have you seen change?
There's 2 things that come to mind. One thing is that we communicate a lot better. I think year 5, you were very very aware that we were kind of growing apart, and uh, I was in a season where I was just not very aware of where we were. I was kind of on cruise control, and I don't even remember why, but I remember not being aware. And then you bringing this thing to my attention that I'm distant, and you're starting to resent me for it. And I'm never gonna forget that feeling. Never gonna forget that night because I
Mhm.
feel like that for me it changed. I,
Yeah.
I I understood that okay, I stopped making deposits into your life. I've stopped pouring into you. I've stopped loving you the way you respond.
Mhm.
And pardon me. Um, and so I think for me that was a moment that changed. Um, that had changed it changed our marriage in my perspective because we learned how to communicate with each other better. And
Mhm.
I knew that I had to start looking for those little things. If I can tell that you need to talk, if I can tell that you're not happy with something, I'm a little more aware of that now. And I
Yeah.
think that was the big moment for me.
Mhm.
And then I think we're also for each other more than we used to be.
Mm.
I think that's changed too, where we can both get into this rhythm of we're making jokes with friends, and it can come at the expense of each other.
Yeah.
And I think we both have gotten really better, really good about being for each other
Mhm.
and not making each other the butt of the joke.
Yeah, like we've talked about this before. Like, how many couples do we know that all they do is in a joking way? It's not really like
No,
it's not a joke. They just bash each other,
always a half truth,
or
you
they
know.
say things that they don't have the stomach to say in a realistic tone. But
So
it's
they
like,
bring it up funny,
yeah,
yeah.
and so and you know those kind of people, like nobody likes being around them because it's like, oh, this is awkward.
Always a little tense, always a little
Yeah, it's
awkward,
always
and
tense. And I remember always hearing this, oh, just wait till you've been married 15 years. Just wait till you've been married longer. And
yeah,
I remember telling Alex, that is not the goal. Like,
that's not going to be
I
us,
don't want to be married so long that we hate each other. Like,
right?
that's not, if we're doing that, we're doing it wrong.
Right.
And how many times is that what could be described as like marriages in the church? Like, we're missing it
Yeah.
because literally, and I've talked to you about this on the podcast before, but like marriage is a picture of the gospel. It's like a picture of our relationship with Jesus. So it should absolutely not be that way.
Right. Well, it's choosing to be selfless. It's choosing your spouse over yourself, which is really a very good definition of love. I've heard
Mhm.
pastors say this, and I've heard people put it on TikTok. All right. Love means you before me, right?
Mhm.
It's not mean it doesn't mean that you think less of yourself. It means that you think. Take that again. It doesn't mean that you think less of yourself. It just means that you think of yourself less. That you
Yeah.
put your
Mhm.
spouse before the
Mhm.
needs of even yourself.
Yeah.
And I think where a lot of marriages start to go off the rails a little bit is that you you choose your spouse and you marry your spouse, and because you choose that spouse, you can choose to grow away from them and drift away from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like your kids. Your kids are your own flesh and blood, right? You almost can't. You're almost bound by your love for them.
Yeah.
You almost can't. It's involuntary,
Mhm.
and I think that's why a lot of spouses put their kids even above their spouse
Yeah.
because their love for their kids is more involuntary. Their love for their spouse is a daily choice,
Yeah.
and that's not God's design. God's design is that the spouse comes first,
Yeah.
the kids come second.
And I think we see that a lot with mom relationships, especially because when they're not fulfilled by their relationship with their husband,
Yeah,
they make their kids their sole object of
right.
love. And then we have an identity crisis when kids move out
Yeah, we see
and
that a lot.
strangers, they wake up and they're strangers. And I don't know how many times we've seen couples that are believers, but what, they get divorced after 25, 30 years of marriage.
Right.
And a lot of times it can go back to the kids were in between, you know.
The kids became an idol in
Yeah,
their
and we
life.
didn't choose each other. And so,
Right.
and that's, and I think something important to like note right here too, and I want you to speak to this because we've talked about this a lot. Your spouse changes, right? Like
Yeah.
what you did to woo me when we were dating
Right.
doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't work
Because
anymore.
I'm not the same person.
No.
Like at
No.
all. And neither are you.
And that's part of me being more self-aware is gifts is one of your love languages, and it's one of the things that I'm worst at. And so I have to be aware of what you want,
Yeah.
and when that changes.
But that's the thing, like,
The most recent thing is like you're into chocolate now. You were
yeah,
not into
never,
chocolate a year
never.
ago,
And I don't like chocolate every day. Like, I have to be in the mood for it.
right?
And I don't like wasting money. So that's a big reason why Alex struggles to buy me gifts, because I want to make sure it's something worth buying, but I also don't like spending money. So that's a fun little adventure.
Luckily, time is becoming more of a love language for you, and
Yeah.
that's something I can do.
Yes, yes. So, okay. So, kind of just talked about like what's changed over the course of our marriage. So, how has marriage kind of changed? Like, what has the Lord done in your life personally
Mhm.
through marriage?
Not to sound like a broken record, but I've always been pretty self-centered, pretty self-absorbed, and I think marriage has taught me that I'm not the most important person in my life.
Hmm.
And I think that that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing when you put someone before you,
Yeah.
not only you as my wife, but also our three kids.
Yeah.
Putting them before me and putting their needs before my needs, putting honestly their needs before my dreams.
Yeah.
I've set aside some of my greatest dreams because I would rather had a family.
Mm-hmm.
Laid down some ambitions, and guys, this is hard for us to swallow, but sometimes you need to swallow your ambitions because your family comes first.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is hard because, obviously you want to like make something of your life. The Lord gives you the dreams and desires that he gives you for a
Yeah.
reason. But it doesn't mean we have to do all things in the same season. I
Right.
think we're figuring out as our kids get older, there's more time to navigate
Yeah.
some of that. And to this point right here, I think it's really important for you to like do some kind of a hobby with your spouse. You may not get to every week because, especially if you have young kids, but like we do music together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we do ministry together through in the context of worship ministry, but we also like that's a big passion of Alex's.
Mhm.
And so we do that together.
Yeah.
And so I think it is important to kind of like mesh some of that,
Definitely.
together.
And chase your ambitions, but don't let it become the idol that you
Yeah,
leave your family in the dust.
absolutely.
I think that's there's a really fine line there and,
Mm-hmm.
and a balance there that especially if you have young kids.
Yeah, yeah. So, what would you say to like younger married people who, what would you advise them on if they're trying to work, they're newly married, they're trying to work on having a good marriage? What would you tell them as something they need to focus on?
Hmm. I would say always openly communicate with each other how you're feeling, what you're thinking, and then also like we did this for seasons.
Mhm.
Find a couple that you look up to
Yeah.
and ask them to mentor you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be this like super serious go through a
Mhm.
book thing. It can be that, but it could be, hey, can we go to dinner with you guys?
Yeah.
We see how you guys love each other. We see
Mhm.
how you parent. We see how you interact with each other in public in the church lobby. Man, we want to learn from you.
Yeah.
And so I think finding people who've done it longer and who are kind of ahead of you in the
Mhm.
journey of life, and learn from their mistakes. Don't learn from your own because
Yeah.
there's a lot of wisdom if you're open to being teachable.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think like we've even talked about this. Sometimes it's harder to find those couples that after 30 years they still like each other,
Yeah,
but they are out there, and that's what we need to be pursuing.
definitely. You just got to know to look for it because,
Mhm.
like you said, there's many couples who probably don't do it right. I say the massive majority, but there's always going to be a couple within eyeshot
Yeah.
for sure.
Absolutely.
You just got to know how to look for them.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it is like so important. I feel like when we first got married, I didn't really want anybody teaching me. I wanted to be the wife, and I would read books and I would let books mentor me, but I didn't really like other women mentoring me.
Right.
And the Lord had to change my heart about that because it is so important, because you can learn from other, like you said, like someone else's mistakes that you don't have to live through.
Right. I think it took us that because I think for us that what it took was us going through a hard season together to find a couple to help us walk through a hard season as ministers, not
Yeah.
even as a married couple,
Yeah.
but when you and I were walking through that tough season, they became our kind of marriage mentors
Yeah.
indirectly,
They did.
and so I think if we were not so hard headed, we would have found them a little faster,
Oh, yeah,
been a little more intentional with them.
for sure. Yeah, and I think another like important thing to point out is you and your spouse will have learned like you're basically we talk about this a lot, me and him, like my home that I was raised in versus his home that he was raised in. Polar opposite
Yeah,
ideologies, like polar opposite worlds. We might as well have been raised on different planets, right?
right.
And so we bring that to the marriage. Like you
Mm,
communicate the way your home did. I communicate the way my home did. And right or wrong, they're just very different.
it's just different.
And
Yeah,
so you have to like especially in those early years, I think that's why those early years can be hard is you have to navigate learning how to communicate in a way that your spouse hears
yeah.
like and actually understand. Don't just like not just like pretending and you're talking at them and then you move on and sweep it under the rug, but like actually
Yeah.
get some conversation that is meaningful.
One of the things I appreciate about you is that you make a point not to nag, and I think that that's gone a long way in helping me become a better husband because um, I hear you when you speak up. I
Hmm.
think so many people, if they don't feel heard, then they start to nag. I know as a husband, nagging kind of brick by brick builds a wall between you
Hmm.
and your spouse.
Yeah.
And so Wise, if I could encourage you just to fight that urge to want to nag, um, because your husband's not going to hear that.
Yeah.
It's not only communicating, but also how you communicate.
Yeah.
And I think for husbands, man, be more aware of her emotional needs and her physical needs, because she has to matter more. And I think if you make a point to be more understanding, then make a point to be less of a nag.
Yeah, it really is like that cycle of wives feel unheard so they nag, which is not the correct response, but then husbands hear nagging and so they're even more distant.
Yeah.
And it's just this like cycle that you can't get off. And so we've talked about this on the podcast before. Like I do try not to nag because I don't think it works. I've seen how it works and play out in other people's marriages,
Hmm.
and it's not fruitful. But I know as a wife, the heart behind it is it's a cry for help. And
Yeah.
so the struggle is like you said, like husbands, if they could see the need, but wives, we have to communicate it the right way. And so it's a push and pull. It's a both and
Yeah.
that we need to both try to do this differently to see some success.
And I can tell you where you did this very well. As in our first year of marriage, I was definitely very dormant in my faith. I was a believer, and I believe I did belong to the Lord, but I wasn't pursuing Him anyway.
Mhm.
And actually, I was pretty much running from my calling. I knew I was supposed to be in ministry, but I was running from that. And I was going through a season where I was upset with the Lord, mad at God. And I was kind of hitting a fork in the road moment. We just got married, and I think you were the only good thing in my life at that point. And I realized that every morning you would wake up and you would find your spot in the living room and you would get in the Word and you would read and you would pray and you would take notes. And I noticed that you did that every single morning. And I think your dedication, your walk, not your nagging, not your questions, but your own example, it convicted my lack of walk.
Mhm.
And honestly, I needed the next year to have my heart softened back to the Lord. So I just
Yeah.
started doing it because you were doing it.
Mhm.
I didn't even enjoy it, but I fell in love with coffee at that time. I think I
Yep.
started drinking coffee
Yep.
at that time too. And now I'm addicted to that.
Yeah.
But that year of me just getting up and doing it with you, the Lord softened my heart. And when I hit that fork in the road, I knew what my decision was. I think had you asked me a lot of questions, had you nagged me about getting up or coerced me into waking up with you, I don't think I would have.
Yeah.
I don't think I would have been restored to the
Mhm.
Lord like I was.
Mhm.
And so I think you did that well even in year one of marriage.
Well, and I think it makes me think of that verse, like you can win over your spouse without even a word. Like we're as women, we're pretty much like words are impactful to us, but
Yeah.
actions speak louder. And so, yeah, like if you're in a home wife where the husband's not doing what you want him to be doing, you do that. You be the example and
Yeah.
and ask the Lord to convict and see what he does from there. So, what would you say to like a wife who feels like she's drowning under like the invisible load of being a mom, like all the millions of tasks that we have to do all the time, and she just doesn't really feel like her husband cares or is trying to help out? Like it feels like she's trying to work on their marriage, but he's not. Like, what kind of encouragement would you give to a wife like that?
That's super hard. The first thing I would say is make sure you're on your knees and make sure you're praying for your spouse. Because anything after that first step's not, it probably won't work. But if you're
Yeah.
starting with praying for your spouse, it's really hard to despise someone and be praying for them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think step one is to be praying for your spouse. And secondly, if you have needs, communicate those needs clearly to your husband. Most men are not going to be mind readers. They're not going to be perceptive. They're not going to be self-aware enough of your needs. And so I think the most important thing is speak your needs clearly, and not even in a frustrated way, but
Yeah.
make sure people can say, "Hey, hear my heart when I say this." Well, show your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Put it in your tone. Put it in the
Mm-hmm.
words that you choose, and come at a place of love. Hey, I'm tired. I need help. One of the things that I'm thankful that you and I have this. I don't know if it's an understanding or we didn't even talk about it really, but I don't see the housework as your work.
Yeah.
I see it as our work.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a load of laundry in the dryer that I need to go fold. I know that, or the dishes, or taking care of the kids, or cleaning
Mm-hmm.
up, or that kind of stuff. I think it's important for husbands to understand that housework is not the wife's work.
Yeah.
You both live there. If you both bring home income, then you both pay for the house. And so I think you can pray for your husband to become more understanding. Pray for his heart to be open and soft, and then communicate what you need clearly, but
Yeah.
in a way that he'll hear. Because
Yeah.
if you're married to your husband and you have been for a while, you probably know what he responds to,
Mm-hmm.
because you probably push the buttons the other way when you're frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like we've talked about this a lot in our marriage. Like, don't just assume he knows what you need and he's just refusing to help. Most of the time, they're not
They
thinking the way
almost
you are.
they almost never know what the wives need.
Yeah,
Almost
and
never.
and they're just in their own world or they have a one-track mind, and so that is one thing I try to really do is when I'm feeling overwhelmed or just feel like there's a thousand things to do, I try to go to Alex and say, "Okay, I do need help. There's a lot I feel like needs to be done. Would you help me?" And I try to not wait until I'm so frustrated that then I'm come across with a tone, which I've done before for sure,
I've done it too.
but we try to like you want to communicate before you get to that tipping point because then it's not going to be a fruitful conversation
Right.
for sure. And like we've talked about on our podcast before, like especially if you're in a situation where you feel like your spouse is just not putting in the work that you are, um, like you said, praying is absolutely step number one. But then,
Mhm.
like, waiting, don't do it in the heat of the moment.
No.
Like, don't try to fight. Like, we don't really, I was thinking about this the other day. We don't really have loud arguments and stuff like that because we normally wait until the cool off and then
Yeah.
we sit down and have the conversation.
Neither of us respond well to it, so we kind of
Yeah.
know that. And
Yeah.
and I'll say this too, wives. I know that it's hard for you to just accept that, just him being more understanding. Um, if I can encourage you here, you're not his Holy Spirit.
Mm
The
hmm.
Holy Spirit is strong enough to work on him.
Mm hmm.
Um, if you were obedient to what the Lord has asked of you, then let him worry about that. Let him worry about your
Yeah.
husband.
Yeah.
And just be patient with that because God's timing is for your good.
And I think that's so important to remember. Like, sometimes we feel like it's our job to fix our husband, and that's not what being a wife is, or a husband for a wife.
Mhm.
It's nobody's job to fix anybody. It's really like you're supposed to be daily dying to yourself and choosing love, like you said, choosing them over you. And it's like this constant reminder that you have a choice every day. Am I going to live for myself? Or am I going to die to myself? And a big way the Lord asks us to show that is in how we love our spouse. And so, um, yeah, marriage is just like one of those. It's one of those adventures that I don't know. I don't know if marriage or parenting. What would you say between marriage or parenting? Which one like sanctifies you more?
Oh my
Like both of
gosh.
them do pretty much
Yeah,
like
but
all
for
the
very
time.
different reasons,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They do. So it's just interesting. So, okay, what about last question here and then we'll wrap up. But what about if a family is pretty kid centric? Like their life seems to revolve around their kids, but they want to start doing a better job of making their spouse ahead of their children. What would
Mm.
you suggest?
I would say, man, if your life's pretty kid centric, then you're probably schedule tight.
Mhm.
And so I would say build in some time with your spouse. And our time is after the kids go to bed. I'm not a morning person, and so we can have an hour together. We can either watch our favorite show, we can talk about whatever, catch up on our days or whatever. I always value and treasure that time that we have after the kids go to bed,
Mhm.
and that's not we kind of fell into it, but it's something that we pretty much do more times than we don't,
Mhm.
week in and week out. And
Yeah.
so I think scheduling intentional time alone with your wife. And I would say too, if you have grandparents or if you have people at church who can watch your kids for the evening, make a point to go out with no
Yeah.
kids. It's been great we've been back in town close to family for the last 2 weeks or so,
Yeah.
and it was great. The last 2 nights, our kids were not at home with us; they were
Yeah.
at a grandparent's
Yeah.
house, and it was really nice to have the 2 nights in a row off of being parents.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know. I feel like I feel like we both needed that.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time we've had 2 nights off from being a parent,
Yeah.
like and I mean, don't get me wrong, we missed the kids and we were so glad they were back, but, yeah, it's like if there's even if I where we came from in Florida, we weren't near any family, and I paid a babysitter, like, that was just
All
a
the time.
part of our budget because
Hmm.
we had to have date time. It's
Yeah.
just you have to. But, like, if there's families in your church that you all have young kids, like one of y'all just switch off babysitting for each other.
Yeah.
We did that many a time
Yeah.
with friends. So there's ways to make it happen, but it requires intentionality, it requires planning, but you're going to be glad you did that and invested in your marriage because
Yeah.
one day the kids are going to leave and you're going to be stuck with each other.
And you don't want to be staring at a person you don't
Yeah,
recognize.
you want it to still be your best friend, and that requires effort in these years of chaos and kid raising
Yeah.
and all that. So,
I I uh I find having little kids difficult, and I think I've said it a lot that the third kid has really kicked my butt,
yeah.
and every parent has told me you're at the easy part. It's only going to get harder the older they get, and so just trying to cherish that and make sure that I'm still loving on you the
Yeah.
best I know how, and I'm
Yeah.
still learning every day.
Yeah. It's definitely it's definitely a an adventure and it's a lot of like seasons of up and down in marriage. I feel like it's kind of like our pastor today was talking about Philippians 3 and how we have not our race is not over. We're not finished.
Yeah,
We're not done being sanctified until we see the Lord face to face.
yeah.
And
Never stop
I feel like
working on that. Never
yeah,
stop working on yourself.
I feel
Never
like
stop
marriage
working
is
on.
it's a good example of that.
Yeah,
Like the day you stop working on your marriage, I don't care if you stay married or not, but if
mhm.
you stop working on it, you're going to see the death in your relationship.
Yeah.
You're going to see it
You
and
will
it
grow
will
apart.
plague you. It will plague your home.
Yeah.
And it can happen even with little kids. I see it all the time.
Hmm.
And so,
And it can happen slowly,
yeah,
and growing an inch apart a day, I mean, you're gonna be a foot apart in 12
yeah.
days.
Because I've talked about here on the podcast before, like our year 5, where we were just laying a brick here and there. And then one day, like you mentioned it earlier, I just felt like we were strangers.
Yeah.
And I was like, this cannot be. We cannot have this. And we've had some hard seasons even here recently, but I feel like because we've learned to be a little bit more for each other and not against each other,
Definitely.
that's helped tremendously make the hard seasons not as hard.
Yeah. And that's just a mindset shift.
It is.
And honestly, that's like, you don't have to be so far off, and you'll still miss the mark, right?
Yeah.
Changing your mindset's going to, honestly, it solves a lot of our problems.
Mm-hmm.
Remembering that hey, this is my wife, this is my best friend, this is my person.
Yeah.
Why would I speak ill of her to my friends? Why would I think ill of her?
Yeah.
In my heart. So honestly, being for each other and
Mm-hmm.
practicing that.
Yeah.
A lot of the tensions that you may be feeling in your marriage will solve itself. Now there are other things that you have to tackle along the way, but being for each other is,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, honestly, that like knowing that you're with me and that you're for me, I feel like I could do anything.
Yeah.
I really feel that way.
Yeah. And like, I just feel like it's so important to remember your way isn't the only way. I have to tell myself that every day, not just in marriage, but in every relationship. But like, your mindset is the way you see life is the right way, right? And the reality is your spouse sees it totally different, like we've already talked about. And so you have to stay humble and teachable. Even if they're doing something a different way, it doesn't mean it's wrong, just a totally different viewpoint.
Do I fold towels wrong?
I don't, do you?
Do I? I know I did one time.
Maybe. I don't know. I like things like that. I just will refold it if I want to.
That's
but
awesome.
okay, well, thank you for coming on my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're actually going to do another episode soon about what to do when you and your spouse disagree on, and we're going to actually share something that has gone on in our life recently. And so come back, share this with your friends. We'd love for you to like subscribe to it, add it on your Spotify playlist. Let people know we're just trying to use this platform as a ministry. And Alex actually writes a lot of music. We have some music coming out next month. So if you go to our Instagram page, Alex and Rachel Inman, you can go check it all out there. But we're just trying to minister the way the Lord's put on our hearts. And so I'd love for you to be a part of that and share that with somebody else. And maybe it can be an encouragement to them as well. So
Awesome.
Thank you guys. And thank you.
Thanks for having me.
You have been listening to the Surrendered Podcast. I hope today's episode was an encouragement to you. And if it spoke to you, I just want to invite you to like this message, share it, comment, and I look forward to connecting with each one of you.